talk a little bit for me?
Sure. How is it going?
All right, whenever you're ready.
Okay. So you rolling?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Christmas of 2017, I took my family to see our in-laws, and while we were there, we were tired. My son started acting a little strange. He was 2 years old at the time, and you could tell he just didn't feel very good. Didn't really think much of it. We were tired. You know, Christmas makes you tired. And so anyway, right before bedtime, he decided to sneak into the sweets and grab a cookie. His mama stopped him, and he tried to pitch a fit and didn't have any air to do it. So we immediately knew something was wrong. Asthma has run in the family, and so we decided to take him to the ER just to check out. We got to the ER, the doctor there thought the same thing and gave him a treatment. They decided to go ahead and do an x-ray on his chest. As they finished that up and wheeled the x-ray machine out of the room, he started to get very agitated, so I picked him up, and at that point, he stopped breathing entirely and started to turn blue. So I just yelled for help. We were already in the ER, and they came running. He didn't start breathing again for over a minute, and my wife and I just stood there horrified. The only thing that we could say is, oh God, please, help. And that was it. That was all that we had. We just prayed until they finally got him breathing again. So eventually we came to the conclusion that we had to send him in an ambulance to Lubbock, despite the fact that it was icy and normally a 2.5 hour drive. It took longer, but he got there. On the way, he stopped breathing again. He had pulled out the tube, the breathing tube down his throat, and we're finally able to get it back in and get him stabilized. But by the time that we got there, we understood that he was in very critical condition. Okay, I'm gonna breathe for a bit. I've got some pictures too, so. All right, sorting thoughts. He ended up being hospitalized in ICU for about 3 weeks. We came to find out fairly quickly that what he had was cancer. And the reason why he had stopped breathing was because the tumor had grown from nothing to about the size of a grapefruit in his chest and was crushing his lungs and his heart. It had crushed one lung entirely and was most of the way crushing the other one. He was only 2 years old at the time, and so grapefruit size was enormous in his chest. While we were there in the hospital, he had to be sedated with a paralyzer and was on morphine for about 3 weeks in the ICU before he was able to wake up. We found out that the cancer that he had was highly treatable, but if you can't breathe, that doesn't really help very much. So we were assigned an oncologist. Come to find out later, this oncologist had been at St. Jude's, and he had actually written part of the treatment for this particular kind of cancer. There was later on that Jonathan had 4 different infections of different kinds of fungus and 3 different bacteria. He should have died at that point. But there was a visiting doctor from Amarillo who looked at the ventilator. We could see that his vitals were dipping and his oxygen chips kept getting lower and lower, and we knew that if something didn't change, he was about to die. The doctor looked at the ventilator, prayed over it, took his time, and then started making some adjustments on the dial. Jonathan started recovering almost immediately. It was a very difficult situation, something that I don't want anyone to go through, but that God was there right with us, that He provided what we needed. He came so close to dying numerous times, but God went through it with us. There's a lot of times that I wish that God would take away the difficult circumstances. But what I found is, if you've read the 23rd Psalm, that David talked about God going with him through the valley of the shadow of death. And I found that God was constantly with us, His presence comforting, no matter what the circumstances were. And I can tell you that despite it being miraculous, everyone will agree, all his medical staff will agree that it is miraculous that Jonathan survived. That Jonathan is cancer-free. He finished treatment last year, and we're actually going on the survivor walk this weekend. So I don't know why he got cancer. I don't know why he survived and there were others who did not, but I do know that God is good, and I know that God cares.